Sparky, over here. Okay, that's good. Or not. Sorry, I'm sick. Good morning, unicorns, and welcome back to another video. My name is Nathalie, and this is my Cafecito y Pan Dulce YouTube channel, where we have coffee talks about anything and everything. Sorry if I'm like looking off to the side. My puppy is like exploring right now, and I don't think he's gonna be able to sleep because I'm gonna be talking the entire time. You stop biting my jeans. I hope you are all having a wonderful day so far. Today we are going to be talking about books. So if you're not a fan of reading or not a fan of books, then this is probably not the video for you. But again, I make videos on everything and anything and everything, so you guys can just subscribe if you enjoy the video, or subscribe if you enjoyed any of my other videos, and you can join the unicorn fam and all of that. Okay, I'm sorry, this video is probably going to be one of the most distracting videos ever. Alright, so yeah, for today's video we're going to be talking about different books that I've read and books that I'm reading that I want to recommend to you guys. I'm sorry again for the setup. It's very casual because I am not quite to spring break yet. I'm filming this on Friday morning, so I still have a day of class left. And last night when I got home, all I wanted to do was like relax because I finally got the tough part of the week done. So all I did was relax and watch Netflix and YouTube. So for today's video, this is the setup. But for next week's video, it's probably going to be a little more official. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Grab your coffee. Mine is sitting right here on top of my stack of books. Let's get started with what I've read. I'll start off with the Kozol book because I read this one and I posted about it on my Instagram, and it was actually my first ever like entry post on my Instagram. So just in case you don't know and you don't follow me on Instagram, I try to post every day. There are days where of course I don't post because life gets busy, but I try to post every day, and every day when I post, it's like a picture that I took of that day, and also it includes like a reflection of my day on the caption. So it's kind of like a little diary. And this book was actually in one of my first posts. It's called Amazing Grace by Jonathan Kozol. And basically it's just about kids in the Bronx in New York, and it's in what time? It's in the 1990s, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so it's telling kids stories, and Jonathan Kozol goes into the Bronx and kind of like asks them questions, and it's just a very good like teacher book, but also a book if you're going into anything with children, or if you're just curious about social justice issues too, because it kind of talks a lot about like the social injustices that the kids face and how they look at it, and versus like the stereotypes that we have of them. And then the second book to this one is the one I'm reading now for class, and this is Ordinary Resurrections. This one I actually got the floppy cover, which I prefer. I don't like hard covers, but anyways, this one is just a continuation of it, like I said. That one, what are you doing, Sparky? Okay, so this one, the first one, has smaller children and older children, like teenagers, but this one has so far only little kids. And like I said, kind of like a social justice type of book. So if you are passionate about social justice, then I would totally recommend these. If you're passionate about like kids, I would totally recommend these. And it's just very eye-opening, like the social structures and the different situations that we put children in as a society, and we don't even realize it, or that we're put in as children and we don't even realize it. Okay, so then I'll talk about this one from my religion class. It's called What's Love Got to Do with It? And I'm sorry if I keep looking at the viewfinder. I just don't really like this lighting, but we're gonna roll with it because I have to go to class. So this one's called What's Love Got to Do with It? And right now in my religion class we're in a worship, like it's a worship class. So it's a little bit, we're talking about worship. This book is talking about how love, like what love has to do with worship, and I am a big advocate for love. I love love. I love to love. I want to pour out love everywhere I go. Of course, I'm human, so like I can't pour out the love that like God, that only God can give us, but I can pour out as much love as I can. So this one is just talking about how love shapes us when we worship, and how God's love shapes us. Everything that comes with love, our relationships, you know, culture and things like that. And it's really interesting to read. I just never knew that people like studied worship. Isn't that weird? Like, I just thought people just know how to worship and that's what they do. So I really enjoyed it. It's really easy to read, and again, that's something that I very much like about books in college, when they're really easy to read, because some of them are like, oh, what? I did not understand that, like, philosophy. If you like music, if you like worshiping, or if you want to be a worship leader at your church, or worship leader like in your Bible study or whatever, then I think this is really good idea. And it does a nice job too of like bringing in different perspectives. The other book I wanted to mention was Fahrenheit 451. Again, another one that I posted about on Instagram. And this one was actually part of the Sweet Readers Reading Club. So, I'm sure most of you guys know her, but Dulce Candy on YouTube. She's also Latina. I think she's actually Mexican, but I'm I'm not sure though. I don't want to assume, because I know I get super offended when people assume that I'm Mexican. So anyways, this is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I think some people read this in school, and some of you may have read it in school. I never read it. I think it was for the Excel English class, so I never read it. But it was in the January month, and it was very interesting to read. I think it's really scary imagining a place where your like books are not allowed. I know like now we don't really like think about it, because books aren't really a big thing unless you read a lot, unless you enjoy reading. So if you don't enjoy reading, then it's not like the end of the world if books go away. But at the same time, like, you don't think about it. All of the knowledge that is on Google is because there are books written. It's not like they're just basing it off of their own head. Like, there's already been so much knowledge written in these books. Like, they need it to base off their knowledge, or like spark a little like fire, you know, to get their thoughts going or something like that. You know, like it's books are very important, and it's really scary to think of a world without books, and of a world where the government controls everything. That was my first fiction book. The other ones were non-fiction. This one is another fiction book. It's called Bless Me Ultima, and it is by Rodolfo Anaya. It is another one of the Sweet Readers Book Club books. It's the February one, and yes, it's almost mid-March, and no, I'm not done reading it yet, but I had to prioritize my school reading. But I'm going to finish it over spring break, hopefully. So it's basically about this little boy, Antonio, and his mom wants him to be a priest. His dad wants him to be like a farmer, I think. His family is Chicano, and he's just starting out school, and the stories that he tells from school are so cute, and he's just like the character, like Antonio, Tony, he's just so cute. Like, I just want to like hug him when I'm reading this. So I'm totally recommend it. So Ultima is like a medicine woman, kind of, or a witch as we would call it in like our culture. But she's a medicine woman. She's not like an actual witch. It's just that we would call medicine women witches, like brujas. But she's not a bruja. She's basically just very like hippie-ish. She's very in tune with nature, as was like the custom in our countries back then, and maybe there are still some now today. But yeah, she's very in touch with nature, very in touch with like natural herbs and like natural healing and all of that. Pretty cool. They're Catholic, so it's very interesting to kind of like read through like different Catholic practices and all of that. Like, I'm very interested in different denominations, different religions, personally, because I consider myself non-denominational, but I grew up Pentecostal, so I grew up very like sheltered from everything else, very with the mindset of no one else is right but me, or but us. And now, like, as I've gone through college, like, that's kind of changed a little bit. So yeah, I think it's really, really interesting. It's very beautiful. As a Latina, I think it's very hard sometimes. Like, you don't ever read. I never in high school read a book written by a Latino or with Latinos represented in the book. So I really am enjoying reading this. Like, it's so different for me and it's so cool. So yeah, I totally recommend that. And then last but certainly not least, the most important, the Bible. So I just wanted to quickly mention the couple books that I'm reading in the Bible right now. If you follow me on Instagram, or if you follow my blog specifically, then Fuzzy, get out of here. Oh, there's like a million of them. Okay. Then you know that I've been doing my Bible study on the book of Matthew. So I've been doing that. I've been trying to read Matthew. You either like love reading it, or you actively have to read it. Like, you have to like make the effort to read it. I have to make the effort to read it. And so sometimes I'll set time apart, and sometimes I just have too much schoolwork, and I know that I should prioritize God, but the fault in me is just that I want to prioritize my schoolwork. Read Matthew. My mom always told me that if you want to get to know how you're supposed to live like Jesus, you have to be able to read the Gospels. But you don't know a lot about God in the New Testament. You know more about Him in the Old Testament. So, you know, gotta read all of the Bible. But right now we're in Matthew. And it's really interesting. Just like, I really like the parables because it's like a storytelling and you get to like learn a lesson from it. Reading Proverbs has been going on for a while. Like, I'm barely on chapter 12 or 13, I believe, but I've been reading it since the beginning of the school year, probably. But it's really, really interesting. I've learned a lot. My mom says that Proverbs is the best book for youth, and so I was trying to read it. I keep like a little journal where like I draw, like I do different little drawings and like reflections on each chapter, and it's really fun. You know, if you make it fun, it can be fun. It has a lot about like wisdom and all of that, and like how you can search for wisdom, what is wisdom, and it's really, really interesting actually. I think that it's helped me be a better person, and it's like, of course, I'm still always going to be a work in progress, but I think it's helping a little bit. Sparky has fallen asleep now. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you guys kind of like find a book interesting, or maybe it just inspires you to find a book that you think is interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, you know. I totally missed kind of like escaping to an alternate world. It's really, really interesting. And then if you read nonfiction books too, like if you find something you're passionate about, like social justice, if you're passionate about social justice, if you're passionate about like women's rights, if you're passionate about love, or if you're passionate about God, there's so many nonfiction books out there that tell a story still, like still give you a place to kind of escape to and live in other people's shoes as much as you can, because unfortunately we're given the situation that we're given, and as much as we love and we want to be in other people's shoes, it's really difficult to do, but the most we can do is like make an effort and try to read about their stories and get a little more perspective on that. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram, all of that, and I will see you guys in next week's video. I love you guys. Bye.